How does your Christian worldview affect how you teach art?
Okay. For those that don't know me, I'm Bob Pennybaker. I'm chairman of the visual art department here at Belhaven. I'm finishing up my 11th year here directing the visual art program. Well, there are a lot of ways in which my Christian worldview affects the way I approach making art and teaching art. The first one probably is a little bit more obvious probably for a believer, and that is that we know from the very beginning of the Bible, the book of Genesis, that God created, and that God is a maker, and that we being made and created in His image, as well as giving the command to subdue the earth, that out of that perspective, out of that paradigm of understanding, I am greatly encouraged and affirmed in my desires to make art and to teach art, and hopefully encourage, support, and help and affirm other artists in training just to do what God told us to do. But with the encouragement that we're getting to be co-creators with God. Secondly, and I approach this a little bit differently than a lot of people in the art world, from this perspective. Before art is about art things that artists have made, be it sculpture or photographs or paintings or films or whatever it is. Before it's about that, art, visual art at least, my realm of art, is first and foremost about the process of sight, how our eyes work, and what registers on our brains and our souls through the act of seeing, optical experience. And so I teach art based on an emphasis that says the very fact that God has given us out of our 5 critical sensory modes, sight is just an incredibly wonderful, rich, luxurious human experience. And I do believe that Scripture teaches and biblical principles teach that how we see determines how we live. Now that kind of seeing is not only optical, it's also insight, wisdom-based, how we see it. Scripture says as a man without a vision perishes, and all kinds of other scriptures support the whole notion that the way we see does have an enormous impact on how we live. So I'm as much in the business of teaching people, art students, as well as the general public that are not artists, how to see and how to read and interpret seen things. And that gets me real excited, as you can probably tell. And then maybe finally, I can talk about what making things means. Since we do have a worldview, all of us do. I have a Christian worldview, but since it's not possible for a living human being to not have a worldview, and since in its simplest terms that means a lens through which we look about life, that colors and filters and influences everything we see through that lens, like a photographer looking through a viewfinder through a lens on a camera. The fact that we all have a common human experience because we're made by the same God and we are His creatures, and yet every single human being who has ever lived, past, present, or will live in the future, is having a unique experience unto God and unto themselves. And then the making of art is related to that no two artists' art is about anything but, if they're authentic, that is, but their experience going through life. And I get the chance to make commentary about my worldview and my faith through the simplest drawing or doodle or expressive non-objective painting or whatever that is. I get to express things about life and about God and out of my heart and out of my soul that knowing Christ and abiding in Him influences in the most profound of ways. And now, there's many, many other ways this can be addressed, and it can be gone into much further. But those are three right on the surface ways that I'm conscious of. So
That's perfect. Thank you.